A little time ago, a few years have passed since then, something like this. I've said many times that my memory is not great when it comes to times or dates. However, the point was, a few years ago, I had a meeting with somebody where there were people that had some incidents quite bad, had bad illnesses, they'd, they'd really bad physical and thus mental states, quite challenging and difficult. There was a girl that had fallen over, literally people that had been in years in bed, different levels of sickness and illness. After a certain point, it was a really strong meeting for me. Then a lady, kind of like middle age, with a really difficult life, asked me, she said, but where can I find the sense of life? I said, because I often think of dying, this is what she said, because I don't find any sense in life. Above the fact that I have lots of pain and there's other people bad like this, this made me reflect that I couldn't give like a rhetorical or formal response. I mean, you can't really do that, especially in this situation. I tried to find within myself what gives me sense in my life. What when we talk about sense of life, it's to live life in a way that is not just a feeling within yourself. Because the life within ourselves has pleasurable aspects, has difficult aspects. But if the life is just a feeling just inside, if life is just a feeling until it is like pleasurable or things that we don't want anymore, we live. But if life is just a feeling inside us and it's like difficult, it's really difficult in many different aspects, then you can find that there's no reason to live. When I try to find the sense in life, this sense I find it's not just a feeling within inside ourselves, but something bigger than this that we can find in different modalities. I was reflecting upon this. I searched, because this moment really touched me. So then I asked myself, where can I find sense in my life? For me, life, to take the sense of life when we have the opportunity to give love and to receive love. But more when we have the opportunity to give love to other people. In that moment, when we're giving love, it can be a lot or a small amount of love. That moment that we give love, we're at service, not in the sense that, not in a sense of inferiority. Not giving service because we're inferior. I'm giving service because we're giving service because we give importance to this, and to find the dignity within the service. I see that by putting myself in service to you, I can find and awake the most beautiful thing that is within inside myself. We live in a very diffuse context where the sense of life is often found in the ego. It's very egotistical, where we try to find sense in our life between the things that we like materially, we want to keep, the knowledge, power, images, beauty, to be desired, to have objects of desire, to be loved, to be desired. We pass a lot of our life within this kind of movement. Yeah, what are our examples of success in this society? Very often the examples of success are people that are rich, that are powerful, are famous, beautiful. And I'm not saying people that have those characteristics are necessarily egoistic, but the direction is a direction in which there is this obsession within for I and me, constantly an obsession. And this is really tiring on a really scary kind of level. Because what it means is, how can I say this? There's a way of seeing. They use this Tibetan phrase, Durbanchuma. To be subservient to desire. This means to do everything that you can to be satisfied by desire. Yeah, so to be subservient to desire. As soon as it manifests, you need to have it. So as soon as a car comes, okay, I want to have this. To always get what you want. An example of this, unfortunately, is the parents that are subservient to their children. Or in a couple, one member tries to be subservient to the other person. But if we want to be bad to another person, so if we want to be bad to somebody, be subservient to desire, in the sense that the nature of desire is more that we have, the more that we want. And what we really want to do is have this sensation of sort of satisfaction. The more that we can have satisfaction, the less that we can have with less. Up to a certain point of a certain perspective. One time Lama Michel told me something that it's not possible for me to follow. I wasn't able. There was a certain situation when he said, just believe. Because if there's the hope, at least this person will give the energy in a certain way. Just leave this person to believe. Let this person to believe. At least if a person has hope, they can go in a certain direction instead of going in another direction. I wasn't able to do this because I think if something's not possible, I'm not allowed to look in somebody's face and say that it's, and tell them that it's possible. This is my problem when it's not. The point is, when there is hope, there's still a little bit of joy, not the present joy, but the idea of having something in the future moment. Hope is like actually fundamental. This Tibetan story, there was this moment in Tibet. Oh yeah, there was like a famine in Tibet. There was a family, a father of the family. He said to everybody, we need to be careful with what we eat. Let's not eat too much, because if we don't, we're not going to have enough food. But don't worry. But in our roof, there's a sack. There's like that sack in our roof is full of flour. When we finish all our food, we've got this upstairs. Don't worry, so don't worry. We've got this flour in our roof. And everybody in the family was there. So let's be careful what we eat. But at least when we finish this, we've got some food upstairs. So we can't eat everything now. So we need to be really attentive. So they followed this. They ate really rationed the food until one day there was a mouse ate the cord of the flour and it fell from the roof on the floor. And when they saw this, they lost hope and they couldn't go ahead. Yeah, so they completely lost hope. This means that when there's hope, in a certain way, it gives a certain energy to move ahead. Up to a certain perspective, when we have a desire, a really strong desire, and we haven't got the object of desire, there's some kind of like process of hope until we get that object of desire. One of the problems that I see amongst many of us, particularly within our social context, is that we don't have any hope. Because like when this is like this, I will be better. We miss this in our society. We miss this because one of the points, we've got different levels of necessities. The material necessity for the majority of us is already like covered, isn't it? But I ask you, like, for the material necessities, is it like, is it okay for you? Let's imagine that material necessities is like a container. Is this container full or is it half full? For me, like, my material necessities are full. And I imagine also for you it's okay. So it's not important. So it's not important like how much I put in this container of material. It's not going to bring any like health because I'm going to be unsatisfied. Between this container, there's a like container of emotions, of to be loved, a container of wanting to be loved, to love. If we see the majority of the suffering and conflicts that are in our society are the cause of our relationships from an insatisfaction, not from a material insatisfaction, but the fact that we can't have positive relationships like husband, wife, child, father, mother, constantly we're in this level. Am I wrong, or we're at that point? And it's there we need to put more energy. And the last container is the spiritual container. And this container, and this gets full when we start to give sense to life, to give meaning to life. What the thing that gives me meaning to life is our capacity to be of service. The real sense of the word is to be, okay, I'm here, I've got my necessities. Fortunately, it's covered, I'm privileged. But there's a huge joy within myself to share, to offer. Not because I want to keep something. Also, because all of us have an idealized image of ourselves that we want to be. Okay, so something that's interesting when the ego comes in a certain way where you realize something, or you think how special I am within our own context. When somebody goes more into a spiritual context, also that we can create like an idealized image of ourselves. But there's like a danger at some point to be a bodhisattva. Yeah, so we need to be careful not to give too much importance to being a bodhisattva instead of giving love to another person. We need to be really attentive of this. Really attentive of this. To open the parentheses, one of the most dangerous things that I've seen is for us that enter into a spiritual life in different levels. Also for the people that have really high predispositions or special characteristics, capacity to heal, people that have the capacity to a certain level of intelligence, a certain level of... Yes, people that have certain levels of intuition. There's lots of qualities that people can have. But there's an enormous danger here at the beginning. And this person becomes service. Yes, I need to be careful to just like, that you just nurture your ego and not serve other people. And this is really dangerous. I close the parentheses. Because in this way, let's go back to what we said at the beginning. It's not... Okay, yes, service is not to something, it's to yourself. If I have a capacity to heal, or intuition, or intelligence, a particular intelligence about something, at the end, what does this serve for? It's to nurture me inside, or to nurture something that can help me transcend this life. The thing that gives sense to our life, and this is really important, is to be of service to the world, to the people, to the nature, to being. In Tibet, they use a term often that says, okay, when somebody says something to be significant or meaningful, for the beneficial, for the benefit, for the benefit. Tempa means for the spiritual path, the Dharma and the teachings. Dhruva means the migratory beings. Who takes this for the benefit of all beings and Dharma. Something becomes significant when there is a benefit for the Dharma and beings, because Dharma exists to serve benefits. When are you of benefit? When you give to others. One of the things that Lama Genshin taught me, one of the most important things, is to be the beauty of being of service to Dharma and to. It's every moment that we meet. The most important thing is I'm at your service. And what does this mean, I'm at your service? I search to use my to interact in a virtuous way that's beneficial for you. So your happiness, your suffering are important. So I try to use my capacity in the best way to see your happiness. And I give myself, I'm available to serve. But what do I earn from this? Yeah, like, because we're egoistic, aren't we? What do you think? So what do I earn from this to make myself at service to you? Before anything else, the moment that I put myself in service, I'm cultivating love. Also, if another person spits in my face, also if another person doesn't see what I'm doing, or is not satisfied with what I'm giving to them, the moment in which I open my heart with sincerity, I'm familiarizing myself within a profound state of love. I don't know if this is clear, this concept. I had a really strong experience once. I've told this a few times before, but it was a few years ago. Okay, I was at the house, just finished shower, and there was like an insect in my shower. This particular type of insect was in my bathroom. At one point I said, okay, I'll leave it in the house because, it's winter, leave the insect in the house, no problem. After a certain point, this insect was drinking a little bit of water. And then I saw, in one moment, I allowed myself, not conceptually, to see this insect. Yes, then I thought, regardless of whether that was for me, I tried to take myself out of the situation. I tried to, take myself away from the inconvenience that the insect is actually in my space. So I saw the insect. I allowed myself to see the insect for itself. I don't know what it was because it was drinking water, but that moment I saw a being that was trying to find its way of being good, like all of us. Then I felt a really profound love for this insect. The moment that I felt this love, I felt this huge sensation of joy and thankfulness to this being that helped me connect with this most beautiful part of myself. So I received a huge benefit from this insect. Because it's from the other that we can transcend our egoism that is the cause for our suffering. If we look at smaller contexts, like our family context, our work context, couples, where does the conflict come from? from our incapacity to be able to see without, like, bigger than ourselves or outside of ourselves. We're all there thinking of I, me, enough. It's really tiring. Because there's also an interesting point here. When I put myself at service to another person, I need to be patient, because I can't be angry with the other person because it makes them bad. I need to be generous. I need to have effort, because it's not easy to be with another person. I need to be loving, compassionate, respectful, grateful. In other words, to help another person, I need to improve the qualities that make me better. Let's do an analogy. Let's make an analogy in a different world. Okay, let's imagine that I have a business and I do products. My objective is to sell the products, right? And to get profit. Yeah, and if I want the business to go ahead, my objective is to find what my clients need and try to serve them, to understand their necessities, their desires, and adapt my products to them. The more that I can do that, the more that I sell. This reminds me of a story, a real story. A Swiss boy that was of a son of it was kind of a multinational. The father wanted him to work in this multinational company, this family company. So he thought, like, it doesn't make sense to work in a company where we're already millionaires. What's the point? So at a certain point, the son said, I'm going to come in to work in the company with a convention, but I'm going to create my sector that I want to follow. Okay. So here, so this young guy, so he went to see if what are the problems in the world, how can we use our resources from this company to help? And he saw one of the big problems on the kind of like world level, and that there still is now, is that there's not having clean water, because many people suffer from, because they don't have like drinking water, clean drinking water. So he called all of the engineers from the multinational company. They invested a lot of money to find a solution for a filter that doesn't use any electricity, that costs nothing, that we can distribute to all of the world of people that need clean drinking water. After a lot of research, they found this like kind of straw. They created this straw that you can put into like the dirtiest water, and it creates clean drinking water through the straw. So he went to different governments around the world that had issues with water, and this was a fantastic solution. And through different organizations, he sold very cheaply. This was a huge success that became one of the largest sources of profit for the father's multinational company. This is an example. Somebody thought of the needs of others, put them at service to other people. And what is the benefit? Well, for yourself. The issue that we live in today, also from our perspective, from like also businesses and systems, it's a system that we're not there to offer service, we're there to take. For example, many people why don't you put publicity on the videos on YouTube? The main reason, for this, because I see a dynamic. Okay, there's a subtle level. Up to a certain point, more people that will look at the video, more money that we make. Then we enter into the dynamic that so many people watch the video that the objective is to changes the dynamic. We're not offering, we're taking. I don't know if this is clear, this difference. For me, it's so precious to offer. When I see this danger, I just say, okay, I'm not going to enter into this. Because we're here to offer. What returns will naturally return to us. Yeah, this exchange it's a natural exchange where you give and you receive. Another thing, however, is it's like a forced exchange. Lama Michel once said, when he came to the West, he was in shock when the people tried to find him and for healing, for advice, and people said, how much does it cost? And Lama Michel said, what? It was like almost like an offense, like how much does it cost? And of course it doesn't cost anything. I do it because I want to offer you something. Because in the Tibetan culture, you never go with without some offering. So the Tibetan communities, the artisans in Tibet. So if you call like a worker, you can never ask how much something costs in Tibetan culture. They do the work, and then you offer. So just explain this difference culturally between offering and paying. So it's an informal method.
Spesso preferiscono dare il lavoro a uno non tibetano per quella ragione. Alla fine fanno del male a se stessi in qualche modo.
Okay, so he's just explaining. So there's culturally this aspect of exchange in Tibetan culture. The point that I want to get to is the more that we can live when we're in front of another person, to make ourselves at service to the other person. I'm talking about everyday life, little things, every day. That which we do, whatever we're doing, even if it's like selling a product, creating a product, speaking to somebody, to put yourself at service, to think of the best that we can give. The exchange becomes part of life, and we need material resources, but it's not the point. Also within our relationships, interpersonal relationships, the more that we can be of service, less we're obsessed with my and I. For the majority of the problems that arrive to me, the people that really suffer, just change the direction of your attention. It's enough to be just less obsessed with your auto-gratification. It's enough just to see the other person a little bit more. but instead we're there.
È un po' quella frase che abbiamo detto ieri di
Uh,
Einstein,
it's like the phrase from Einstein,
follia
folia.
è ripetere le stesse cose pensando di ottenere risultati
Oh
diversi.
yeah, so insanity is to repeat the same
È quello che noi facciamo
thing and
ogni
expect
volta,
different
dato che
results.
l'egoismo di essere felici abbiamo visto che non funziona. Ogni volta cosa facciamo?
And what do we do
Ripetiamo.
every time egotistically? Yeah, we just repeat the same mistakes.
Spesso quello che noi vogliamo
Often what
è
we
essere
want
amati,
is to be
ricevere
loved,
affetto e
to
poter entrare in
receive
contatto con questo
love and
sentimento
affect, to
meraviglioso che
have
esiste dentro di
this
noi.
beautiful love that we have within ourselves, to feel that.
Infatti è bellissimo,
To be
ma
loved is
amare prima
beautiful,
ancora
but to love is more beautiful.
e non ci vuole tanto
And you don't need that much to do this,
di vedere l'altro
to see the other person
e amare, desiderare la felicità l'altro
and
dentro
to
di sé
desire
al
the
suo meglio,
happiness for the other person, to put yourself at service for the
al
other,
meglio delle nostre capacità.
to the best of our own capacity.
Ricordandoci che
Let's
mettersi al servizio dell'altro
let's
non vuol dire
remember,
sacrificare se
to put yourself at
stessi.
service doesn't mean to sacrifice yourself.
Sto
It doesn't mean that
sacrificando
I'm
me
not
stesso, sto
sacrificing.
facendo bene a me.
I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm trying to make the best of myself.
Quando io posso mettermi al tuo servizio, io
When
posso
I can put
offrirti l'amore,
myself at
io posso
service,
amarti, io sto ricevendo
when
pieno.
I allow myself to love, I'm actually receiving.
Anche perché, come abbiamo detto prima,
Also because, like we said before,
quando io mi metto al servizio dell'altro,
when I put
io
myself at
devo
service to
essere
the other,
gentile,
I need to be gentle, patient,
eccetera, tutte le qualità che
etc.
fanno
All of the
bene.
qualities that make myself good.
Quindi io sto in fondo al mio servizio.
So at the end, I'm
Sto
at my own
facendo bene a me
service
stesso, non sto
because
facendo del male.
I'm not doing bad to myself, am I?
Perciò
Therefore,
cerchiamo
let's
nella
search
nostra vita
in our
quotidiana,
life, daily life,
all'interno del lavoro,
within work,
all'interno dei rapporti fra amici, nei
like
rapporti
friends with our
familiari,
friends, our interpersonal relationships in
nelle
our
nostre
family,
interazioni,
within
cerchiamo
our
di vedere
interactions.
come posso aiutarti,
Like, how can we
come
help?
posso interagire in un modo che sia
How can
buono
I
per te.
exchange with you in it's a way
Ovviamente
that's
dobbiamo
good
anche
for you?
rispettare dei limiti che noi stessi
Obviously, we have to
poniamo.
respect our
Io non
limits.
posso voler di me di più di quello che riesco a fare in questo momento.
Yeah, I'm not asking you
Noi
to
dobbiamo
give more
cercare
than
di
you
fare
have.
l'effort, però un pochettino alla volta, non del tutto.
Let's like
Non
go out
crollare.
of our comfort zone, but not too much.
Però
But
rispetto i miei limiti.
respect your limits.
Però la mia priorità
But my priority
è l'altro, anche perché qua c'è
is
un
the
punto
other,
importante su
because here's a
questo che voglio
point,
portare proprio qui.
an important point within
Io mi sono
respecting your
accorto
limits.
che quando una persona buona,
When a good person
che di solito si prende cura degli altri,
often
che ha un
looks
buon
after the
cuore, ha una buona
other people, that is a good
intenzione,
person, has a good heart,
a un certo
up to a
punto nella sua
certain
vita
point,
le sue necessità basiche vengono a mancare.
their necessities become missing.
Cosa succede
What
quando
does
le
this
proprie
mean?
necessità basiche vengono a
What
mancare?
happens when you're
Il
missing the
bisogno
certain
di
basic
affetto, di
necessities?
amore, di rispetto, di altruismo aumenta o diminuisce?
Yeah, do these positive qualities increase or decrease?
Diminuisce.
They decrease actually.
Se io non sento che le mie necessità basiche
If I
siano
don't feel that my
coperte,
basic necessities are
difficilmente
covered,
riuscirò a
it's
guardare oltre me stesso e prendere
difficult to
felicità.
go outside myself to others.
È chiaro che quali sono le
It's,
nostre reali necessità basiche è tutto un altro discorso.
yeah,
Noi creiamo delle necessità che poi in
what
realtà
our
non
actual
lo sono.
necessities are is
Noi
another
facciamo dei
discussion.
nostri desideri delle necessità.
We have our desires of our necessities as well. It's
Però
very
è
subjective.
importante capire che
It's
anche
important to
quando io mi metto
understand
al servizio
when I put
dell'altro
myself at
in
service
un
to another
modo che
person,
soddisfa me stesso, io sto bene, io ho abbastanza.
it's a way of receiving.
Posso permettermi di offrire a te perché io
I
ho
allow
tutto, io sto
I
bene.
allow myself to give because I've got enough,
E questo vuol dire tanto.
and this means a lot.
Ok? Perché uno dei punti fondamentali
One
per
of the
trovare la
fundamental
felicità
points within
è
happiness
permettersi di
is
essere felice.
is to allow yourself to permit yourself to be happy.
Io anche un po' di tempo fa stavo
A little
leggendo
bit of time ago, I was reading
questo libro di...
this book.
mi è sfuggito il nome adesso.
I forgot the name of it now.
Greco romano.
It was like a Greek Roman philosopher,
Era Seneca, sì.
Seneca.
E c'è un punto in una frase di
There was a
Seneca che dice
point from Seneca that said,
felice colui che
happy
profondamente si permette
Happiness with him is that which allows you to be happy,
o che forse crede felice in qualche
or
modo.
to believe in happiness.
E noi dobbiamo permetterci di
We
essere
need to allow
perché
ourselves to be happy, to be good.
e quello che io vedo è che
Or what I
più siamo
see,
ossessionati
more that we're
dall'io,
obsessed
da
with
quello che
my
io voglio,
I,
come
that
io
I
voglio,
want,
quando
how I
io
want
voglio, che
it,
cosa
what I
genera
want.
questo?
What does that generate?
Insoddisfazione,
Insatisfaction,
rancore, rabbia,
anger,
conflitti,
conflict,
litigi, paure,
fear.
o no?
Yes or no?
Pensate ai vostri rancori,
Think of
ai
yourself.
litigi che ci sono stati, ai tutti questi tipi di problematiche.
Think of
Chi
all your
c'era
problems.
dietro?
Who is behind these
Se
problems?
non l'io e il mio.
If it's not I or my.
Più siamo ossessionati
More
di
that we're
questo,
obsessed with
più
this,
difficile
the more
è
difficult it
vivere.
is. The more difficult life is.
Più noi
More,
sappiamo prendere cura di noi stessi,
more that
prendiamo anche
we
cura degli altri, non
take
andiamo
care of
verso quella
ourselves, we're taking
disfunzione.
care of other people.
Meglio stiamo anche con noi stessi.
Better we are with ourselves.
Io questo vedo per esempio
I see this, for
in
example,
molti contesti, per
in
esempio un
different
centro
contexts.
Dharma.
In a Dharma center, for
Qual è
example.
l'inizio della fine di un centro di Dharma?
What is the...
Quando l'obiettivo del centro di Dharma diventa se stesso.
Yeah, okay, sorry guys, I lost
Quando
this.
l'obiettivo non è più essere a servizio degli esseri del
When
Dharma,
the objective is
ma
not
è
to be the service of Dharma,
vivere, crescere, essere se stesso, quindi diventa un obiettivo.
okay, it's when the objective is just to
E
support
è
this
molto
Dharma
tecnico,
center. It's
quello
very
che sto dicendo
fine.
fra uno e l'altro. Non so se è chiaro questo. Perché io mi ricordo
I
quando abbiamo cominciato a costruire il tempio,
remember when
a un
we
certo
finished
punto c'era
the
un discorso
temple.
che abbiamo dovuto fare un debito con la banca, no?
Okay, we had to have this discussion with the
Che
bank
ancora abbiamo,
that we all
iniziato
still
a
have.
1,5 milioni, adesso c'è ancora 1 milione da pagare.
We still have a million
Mezzo
to
milione
pay.
abbiamo pagato, c'è
We've
ancora 1
paid
milione da
half a
pagare.
million, but we've still got a
E mi
million of
ricordo un
debt.
giorno con
I
questo
remember
servizio lì c'era il pensiero e a un
that I was
certo punto
thinking,
quello che mi ha messo un po' in pace
what put me in peace a little bit
se
was
il centro funziona,
if the center
che vuol
works,
dire veramente è di servizio
to
per
be
chi
of
sta portando il
service,
Dharma,
to
le
take Dharma to
condizioni
people, then
perché il centro sopravvivere ci saranno.
the conditions for the center to be sustainable will survive, will come.
Non ci sono più, vuol dire che il centro non svolge più la sua funzione e a questo punto che ben venga che la banca lo prenda, ma chi se ne frega le case, le mura.
Yeah, and if we're not at service, okay, the bank can just take the center because
Moriamo.
the point is
Il mondo
to
è
be of
pieno di
service.
costruzioni di ogni
The
genere,
world
ma
is
tutti
like
siamo
full of
attaccati al mondo.
constructions around the world.
Siamo attaccati a essere a servizio di poter fare qualcosa che sia
We're
di beneficio. Questo
we're
è un strumento che in
attached
questo momento
to
funziona.
being of service.
E quello mi ha messo l'anima in pace quando era riguardo i
So this
debiti.
put me in peace when I looked at
Finché
this
riusciamo
debt. Until we
essere
can
e fare quello che è il nostro servizio, il resto
until we can
funziona.
allow ourselves to be at service,
Ovviamente
then
verranno prese cura, eccetera, eccetera.
the monetary aspects will arrive.
Perciò ricordarsi che
So
siamo
let's
qua per essere
remind
a servizio,
remind ourselves that we need to be of service.
rispettando i nostri limiti,
Respect our
le
limits,
necessità,
our necessities, basic necessities,
servizio. E quando
but to be of service.
persone,
It's like
tre
2 people,
persone
3
o in un
people,
gruppo,
or in a
uno al
group
servizio dell'altro,
is of
si
service
trova
to the other.
facilmente armonia.
They'll find harmony straight away.
Quando noi siamo insieme fra due,
But
può
when we're
essere
in 2
genitori e
people,
figli, figli
it
genitori,
could be like
amici, coppia,
parents,
qualunque cosa, ma io
couple or
sono al mio
friend.
servizio e tu sei al tuo servizio.
When you're at your own service and the other person's at their own service,
Ovviamente,
obviously,
naturalmente,
naturally,
i miei desideri non
my
corrispondono.
desires do not correspond with your
Il mio
desires.
punto di vista
My
non
perspective
corrisponde
does
al
not
tuo, non perché io sia
respond with
meglio o
yours.
peggio di
Not
te,
because I'm worse or
perché
better
siamo
than
esseri
you,
umani e siamo tutti
because we're humans and we're different.
Quindi quando mettiamo due insieme, io
When we,
voglio un
met,
modo,
when we
tu vuoi
put two
l'altro, io
together,
voglio verde, tu vuoi blu, io voglio caldo, tu vuoi freddo.
I
È
want hot, you want
normale che
cold,
sia
you want
così.
blue, I want red. It's normal to be like this.
Io credo che sia meglio così, tu credi che sia
I
meglio
think it's
così.
better like this, and you think it's better like this.
Questo fa parte della normalità.
This is part
Sarebbe
of our
strano se
normality.
non fosse così.
It'd be strange actually if it wasn't like this.
Però quando siamo in due,
But when we're in two,
o in tre,
when
o
we're
quel che sia,
we're with other people, 2 or 3 or a
Io ho
group.
le mie idee,
I have
ho i
my
miei
ideas,
desideri,
my desires,
il mio modo di vedere quello
my
che
way of
credo che possa essere,
seeing
però
what I believe the best, but
le tue necessità,
your
le tue
necessities,
felicità,
your
la tua
happiness,
persona è prioritario dinanzi a
you as a
me.
person is a priority.
Io mi adatto a te.
I will adapt
E
myself to
se
you.
tu ti adatti a me,
And if everybody adapts to me,
naturalmente troveremo un
naturally
punto d'incontro
we'll have a meeting
e si va a creare armonia.
and we'll create harmony.
Armonia non vuol dire che siano uguali,
Harmony doesn't mean that we're equal.
vuol dire che uno complementa l'altro.
It means that we complement each other.
Perciò no, è un po' come il contesto della guerra.
It's a bit like the context of the war.
Una cosa è fermare una guerra,
One thing is to stop the war,
che è molto più facile che costruire la pace.
which is much easier than constructing peace.
Perché il vero coraggio
Because the real courage
non è quello di
or
andare
courageousness
in confronto.
is not to go into conflict within
Il
a...
vero coraggio è quello di avere l'umiltà
The real courage is to have humility and go up to another person.
e noi lascia stare le guerre lontane.
Let's leave the war
Siamo alla nostra vita, i nostri conflitti interpersonali.
within our own interpersonal conflicts.
Una cosa è evitare i conflitti e
One thing
fermare
is
le tensioni, i
one
conflitti, perché non
one thing
vogliamo
is
litigi qua di là.
is to not enter into these conflicts. Another thing is to construct peace and harmony.
La base dell'armonia
The
è la
base of harmony and
pace, il
peace
rispetto
is
e
respect
l'amore
and love
verso l'altro.
for one
L'altro
person
è
for another.
importante per me.
Like the other person's important for
Io
me.
mi adatto a te.
I will adapt myself to
Poi
you.
dopo se tu ti adatti a me o meno è un
And
problema
if
tuo.
everybody
Io
adapts,
non vado a imporre su di te, io mi sto adattando a te, tu non stai adattando a me.
yeah, I'm not importing my I'm not putting my
Sempre
viewpoints
sempre di
onto you.
Seneca c'è un passaggio bellissimo
In this book, Seneca,
che voglio, magari a un certo punto lo posso riprendere perché come lui mette sono con parole veramente
because he
belle.
uses really beautiful
Lui
words,
dice,
where he says,
il momento nel quale
the moment in which
il mio processo di crescita interiore
my process of interior
va
growth
a dipendere da quello che
depends
l'altro deve o non deve fare,
depends upon what somebody else must or must not do. He also like a small amount of this.
l'inizio perché non funzioni per distruggere quel processo lì.
It starts that we
Quando io invece dico
instead
io faccio la mia parte, poi ognuno farà la sua o meno, non dipende da me.
everybody does what they need to do,
Lo faccio
but it doesn't
perché
depend on me. I just do what I can with joy.
perché fa bene per me adattarmi a te.
I adapt to you because it's good for me to
Se tu ti
adapt to
adatti
you.
a me o meno è
But
un altro
but
discorso.
whether somebody adapts to me is a
Non è
different discussion.
non è uno scambio. Io mi
It's not an
adatto a te, se tu mi
exchange.
adatti a me, io
Oh,
mi
you
adatto a
adapt
te.
to me and then I'll adapt to you. It's not like this.
Io mi metto a servizio.
I put myself at service.
Fa bene a me, mi porta
And this
in
is
stato
good for
di
me.
gioia.
And this brings a state of joy.
Ogni tanto è faticoso.
Every now and again it's
Ed
difficult,
è
it's
faticoso
challenging.
principalmente perché noi non siamo
It's
abituati
mainly
all'altro. Siamo
difficult
abituati a
because
essere
we're not
ossessionati con noi
used to it,
stessi.
because we're obsessed with
Cambiare le
ourselves.
abitudini è
To
faticoso.
change habits is
Sento
difficult.
dire no perché il male è più forte del bene. Non è vero, non c'è
It's not
più
because
male,
like
c'è
the
solo
bad is worse than the
abitudine.
good. It's just habit.
È faticoso agire in un
It's
modo diverso
tiring.
delle abitudini che ci sono.
It's tiring to change our habits to a
Sono
different
abituato a
way,
essere
in a different way.
ossessionato con me stesso,
If I'm
è
obsessed with
faticare a non
myself,
esserlo.
to change the habit to not be obsessed with
Per
myself
qualcuno che
is
è abituato
tiring.
profondamente a essere al servizio degli altri è faticosissimo
The
essere
same as
al
somebody
servizio
that
di
is
se stesso.
has the habit of being at service to others. It's tiring to change their
Perciò
habit to be
ogni
obsessed.
tanto è difficile, sì,
Yes, every now and again
però è quello che alla
it's
fine ci
difficult.
porta del bene, è quello che ci aiuta a risolvere le nostre
But this helps resolve our conflicts. It's
fondo
good
siamo
for
noi a
us,
guadagnare di più di tutto.
and we're earning from this. So I invite
Nelle
you
nostre azioni
in
quotidiane
our daily actions.
cerchiamo di pensare
Let's search to think
qual è il beneficio che va oltre me stesso.
what is the benefit to go outside of myself.
Nel mio lavoro faccio
In my
questo,
work,
in che
I do
modo posso
this.
servire
How
le
can I
persone con
serve?
cui interagisco, quali
How
sono
can
i
I
loro bisogni.
how can I have relationships with people?
Perché uno dei problemi maggiori che
Because
noi
one
abbiamo
of the
nel mondo d'oggi
biggest problems that we have in the
è una
world today,
conseguenza
which is a
dell'egoismo,
consequence of
è il fatto che il
egoism,
profitto giustifichi ogni cosa.
because profit justifies everything,
E noi sappiamo,
and we know this.
pochi giorni fa
A few days ago,
leggevo per esempio
I
in
read
Iraq
that in
una
Iraq,
quantità di persone con leuchemia
there's so many
enorme,
people with leukemia
perché
because
già in Iraq stesso
still
c'è
in
una
Iraq,
legge che dice che
there's a
vicino ai
law
pozzi di petrolio dove si brucia il gas, il petrolio,
close to the
non si può
gas or
avere dei
petrol
pozzi
stations.
in un raggio di 5 chilometri,
Yeah, there's
perché
something
questo
related
gas
to the
può
radius
accendere a cancro.
because this gas generates
Però ce ne sono
cancer.
tanti molto molto più vicini.
But there's lots of people that live closer than
Tantissimi
5
morti di
kilometers,
placa.
so there's loads of
Lì
people with
perché? Quello
leukemia
che vale di più è
because what?
il profitto.
Because profit ruled that
Però la
particular
stessa cosa si
situation.
ripete anche nel piccolo.
But the same things happen also in the small
È
moments.
inutile che noi stiamo a puntare il dito alle grandi multinazionali e chi
It
fa
doesn't
qua,
help to
che
point
fanno
our
questo,
fingers at
questo.
the huge
No, guardiamo.
multinational companies. Oh, they did this, they
Dobbiamo
did that.
guardare nella nostra
We need to
vita.
look at our life.
Io quando faccio qualcosa
When I do
tengo in
something,
considerazione la necessità e il benessere dell'altro
I
o
take
no?
into consideration the benefit of another person or not.
Io mi permetto di entrare a dei certi cicli viziosi
I allow
negativi di violenza,
myself,
di interdipendenza e di violenza o no? Voglio far parte di quello
I
o
allow
no?
myself to enter this like
Chiaramente un altro discorso che non è il momento adesso di fare.
these different cycles or
Io la
not.
domanda che mi pongo è, io
But
nel mio
the question that
vivere
arises is that within my actions,
sono a servizio di chi?
I'm of service to
Perché il
who?
profitto non è altro che una
Because the
manifestazione
profit
materiale dell'egoismo.
is just a material expression of
Il resto
egoism.
non importa, quello che importa è il mio beneficio personale.
My benefit, my personal benefit is the most important.
E questo è quello che dobbiamo andare oltre.
And this is what we need to go above.
Cercare di farlo nel nostro piccolo,
To
nelle nostre piccole
search
azioni,
for
nella
our
vita con la
little
famiglia, nei
actions
rapporti
within
con gli
our
amici, nel
family
rapporto di
life,
lavoro, nelle azioni che facciamo, nelle
work,
scelte che prendiamo.
the choices that we make.
E questo, alla fine dei conti, dà
And this at the
senso
end
alla vita.
is the significance of life.
Ok?
Okay?
Facciamo le nostre dediche.
Let's do our dedication.
Jetsu lame kutse rapten chi namkara tille chokchur gepadang losan tempe drume sasum ki drove minsela tato ne gyure chi kewa kunto yanda lamadang Dralme cheki pela longche ching Sada lamge yunde rabzone Dorje change kopan yurtoba sho Nimo dele tsendele Nime kuyan delek Ninten taktu delekpe Concho sumke chingelo, concho sumke ngodrobotsol, concho sumke trashishu. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni. Possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Grazie a tutti.